They took your favorite game and made a movie so bad you had to spew. What's a nerd to do? Well, listen to 8-Bit Movie Review with Josh and Andrew. It's 8-Bit Movie Review.
And of
Right
course,
off the bat.
of course, I forgot to unmute us. But welcome back, gamers. I am Andrew Gonzalez,
And I am Josh Edgington.
and this is 8-Bit Movie Review, the podcast where we discuss movies, series, and all things video games. And we're continuing our weekly discussion of the Last of Us HBO series. And today we're discussing episode 3, Long, Long Time.
Long time.
Long, long time. Which I thought was a weird name for an episode, but it's based off of what I already forgot her name. That musician,
Linda
that,
Rodstead.
Linda Rodstead, who gets a lot of love in this episode.
Yep. Linda Rodstead. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Multiple people playing it someplace on a piano, playing
Right
on
now, while they're listening.
playing on a track in the car. Like lots of Linda Rodstead. It was one of those things. It's like that Stranger Things effect.
Yes.
Same thing happened. Like she just immediately, people were like, "Hey, I'm gonna search for that song on like Spotify."
It's cool how that happens these days. A lot of people
Yeah.
are watching these, listening to this old music that was like big back in the day, but of course these youngins don't know about them until they see their favorite characters listening and rocking out.
I have no fucking clue who Linda Rodstead is.
I don't know
I've
much
heard
about
the
her
name,
either.
but no,
But
I'm not. So I guess I'm a youngin. I'm 38, but I'm a youngin. So
you are fucking millennial.
Mr. Jody in the chat. What's up, buddy?
Fucking Joe D. And I know we said in our previous, if you listen to our podcast in our previous episode, we said that Brian Taylor from Fandom at Random was going to join us today. But unfortunately, due to scheduling, he was unable to join us and will be joining us in a future episode. We're not sure on the number yet, but they also, Fandom at Random, great podcast, pop culture podcast. They also just did a quick rundown of episode 1, 2, and 3 of The Last of Us. That episode, I think, released today. And I listened to it, and boy, they went quick. They went really quick. Really quick.
Jody just said, "What a hell of an episode this was," and I will agree. I will agree. I liked it. Just to summarize, I liked it, but I'm not upset. Okay, kind of upset that we're not going to get several things that took place in Billstown in the game.
Yeah, that's I would say is my only complaint, but boy, was this fucking episode powerful. It was dude, credits rolled and I didn't even know I was clapping. I was just like, "Oh shit, like I'm clapping. Like this is
that seems a bit
like
that seems a bit much. Like I was giving a standing ovation and writing a check out. It's like
I don't clapping, but like still at the same time, it was very like
yeah.
I
mean, this was an episode that really didn't even like push the narrative too far.
No,
like we get like so very little of Joel and Ellie, and it serves a purpose. But the majority of this episode, which was like what, an hour and 15 minutes, like it focuses on Bill and Frank, who we get very little of in the game. Very, very little. We get some conversation from Bill about he was my partner, and the things didn't work out kind of thing.
Very like
we read
nonchalant.
a note. Yeah, we read a note at one point, and Frank's basically like, I fucking hated you, always hated you. And this is not that.
No.
This is actually like a really positive story taking place in this incredibly because we had like crazy bad shit that happened in each of the first 2 episodes, and now yes, bad shit happens in this episode, but it's so much more positive and like a way better outlook on how things can be in this type of world, and I think it was a good departure from what I expected.
Oh yeah, I
the
did not
episode.
expect it to be this. This episode was released on January 29th, 2023. It was directed by Peter Hoare. I looked it up. I guess that's how you say that name.
Peter
Uh,
Hoare.
Written by Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. Again, I'm not going to argue with what the original creator wants to do. So I was happy with the changes. Added to the cast for this episode for top billing is Nick Offerman, our boy, and Murray
Ron
Bartlett.
Swanson.
Murray Bartlett, I'm not familiar with, but he's an Australian actor, and he did a really good job. Their chemistry
Yeah,
was
everything I've seen, I guess
top-notch.
he was a pretty cool character on that show White Lotus. That's getting
I gotta see that.
a lot
I've
of
heard a
hype.
lot of good things about that show. I heard a lot of good things.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that both of them were fantastic. Honestly, I loved Nick Offerman as the just survivalist
Oh,
anti-government
for
guy
sure.
from the beginning, and then it's like the feeling of righteousness he has when he's just like, I was just proven right.
Yep.
I was proven right. The government came and took all the people. Now, necessarily, he doesn't know that Ellie and Joel find just dead bodies that the
Well,
government's like,
yeah.
well, can't fit you in a QZ, so gotta kill you. But Bill was right. And then he just goes on like a shopping spree. He's raiding people's houses. He's like, yes, I will turn on natural resources for me to live off of for the next 10, 15 years, 20
Yeah,
years.
I love that they did that. Quick summary before we really get into it. When we last left off, Tess blew herself up after a saucy kiss with a clicker to give Joel and Ellie a running chance from the infected following them. We
You
find,
came up with the summary, didn't you?
yeah,
No
no.
person is going to write saucy kiss from a clicker.
uh,
Like a legitimate like
We find them on their way to Lincoln, Mass to meet up with a couple of Joel's old friends, Bill and Frank, because, Bill hates Joel. Along the way, after getting a few supplies and playing some Mortal Kombat 2 at the Cumbies, we get more details about the lack of knowledge Ellie has about the outbreak and what life was like before. Joel and Ellie encounter a mass grave along a road. Joel explains the military culled some survivors of a smaller town while they were being evacuated to conserve food and living space for those deemed healthy enough to work in the quarantine zones. The episode then jumps back 20 years earlier, where our story truly begins, where we find our lovable Bill, played by Nick Offerman, hiding in an underground bunker under his home to avoid evacuation.
that's quite the summary.
I pretty much wanted to brush over the beginning. We're gonna get into that too because there was some stuff that happened in the beginning, but the main focus of the episode and where it really just kind of takes main place is when we get to Bill.
Yeah.
And at the beginning it's more of Joel's, he's pissed. Tess is dead. We
Yeah, he
get
sets
that.
up like a rock formation grave thing or
Yeah,
something like
I was
that.
like, oh, it was funny because Kat was like, oh, he's one of those fucks. like,
Oh, like that go to like hippie festivals and put like rock formations in the water. Like
yeah,
I'm one with nature. It's like no, I don't think that's it. I think I was just
I didn't
like
even. It's a grave. I didn't even think of that.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we get a little bit of that.
I like that. We get that Ellie pretty much because Joel's treating her like crap. She's like, "You want your coat back?" And he's like, "No, my girlfriend's dead because of you." He doesn't say it, but it's pretty much there. And she has to pretty much say no one told you to come. You didn't have to come.
Yeah.
You didn't have to take me. This is not on me. And then Joel kind of comes to terms and is like, all right, let's go. And then we kind of get this like odd
Kind of an
couple walk
yeah, it's like an odd couple, but like also information
exposition
dump.
dump. Big time.
Yeah,
Big
because
time.
it's like we had all these hints about like what actually started the outbreak, and Joel just flat out says, "Here's exactly what caused this. Here's the date it started. Here's the foods people were eating, and this is exactly what happened."
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I thought that was great. And of course, Joe, which has been very all
Joe.
about it. Joe D.
Oh, yeah.
He he's like he'd like to make a shout out to Cumbies because of course
Oh, of course.
we
Cumberland Farms. You can't fuck with it, dude. I used to get Lipton iced
oh
teas from there
yeah,
all the time right before I would go on with a group of people in the car and just roll around Tewksbury.
yeah, and if you're
Everyone
from
would get them Lipton iced teas.
and if you're we're from New England, so if you're from New England, you saw that you were like, "Fuck yeah, Cumbies, baby!" And
Yep.
of course, they replaced the arcade in the video game, which
It was a,
I forgot to say this at the beginning of the episode, but if this is your first time watching the show, we're not gonna say any video game spoilers that are like not involved with the episode. We're gonna
yeah.
keep those quiet. We're only talking about video game spoilers that pertain to the episode. Now that
Yeah.
I said that, in the game, there's some sort of Mortal Kombat ripoff game that she's
Yeah,
obsessed with.
they didn't have the rights to it, so it
Yeah.
was I can't remember the name of it, but it was like yeah, you get to play it in the the Left Behind DLC where basically Riley is just telling you what happens in the game and you're like
Oh,
pushing buttons kind of thing.
I wonder if we're gonna
Um
get that with Mortal Kombat. I would love that.
I
And
maybe,
she
yeah,
does all the
maybe if they
voices, so she's like,
Angel Knives. That's what Jody just confirmed. Of course,
Angel
Jody knew.
Knives. Of course she
Angel
does.
Knives. Um, yeah, I did like it
Angel
because it makes more sense.
Knives.
The time that would have happened, that would have been like the big game that came out, and it was funny that she knew like legitimately what Melina does in the game. Like she like eats them up and like barfs out their bones and stuff. It's like yeah, that's a fatality.
Again, Bella Ramsey crushing it. I want to point out again, we didn't get a lot of her in this episode, but I love it. I love her. I think she's doing a great job. Like, the what you still have a little bit of qualms or
Yeah, yeah, I think she was. I don't know, a little bit like, and Joel called her out like, yeah, you went to school. Like, how do you not like know things?
well, that's the
And
writing's
like,
fault then. Like if because
yeah,
it is kind of true. Like, don't you think that like because she was in a military school, right?
yeah,
When the biggest thing that they taught would educate them on is the outbreak. Like that,
yes, probably.
I don't think in the game Ellie really asks those type of questions. Um,
No,
and
I don't
like
believe so.
I understand, like she asked more of like before the outbreak. Like this, it was so cool. She's like, there's a plane that's just scattered, like, and of course you can see bodies spilled out of it, like off this hill, and she's like, I can't believe you did people flew in those, and he's like,
Yeah,
Joel's just
you got
kind
to
of like,
fly in the sky.
yeah, because he
That's
was like,
crazy.
I've been on a couple times, like it's nothing. And he's like, and they also flew in the sky too. They also came down. Like,
Yeah, planes are great, but like even still riding a plane today, like takeoff is rough, landing is rough.
if I'm on a
It is just
plane and somebody
yeah.
starts like, be like, ah,
Well, that's not what I meant, but um, just that first thing where you're like taxiing, and then it's just like you hear, and then you just get pulled really fast
yep.
forward, and you're just like, oh, we're gonna die. Flying is fun, but there's still that
Yeah, I
little
love flying.
anxiety. Yeah, still a little bit of anxiety. So she's not missing
When I
much.
was a kid, I never thought of it. I was just like, cool, I'm in the air.
Flying was a rich person's thing to do when I was younger. That's why we would like drive to fucking Disney World from Massachusetts.
Yeah, we usually drove to New York and visit my
Yeah.
grandparents. But this beginning scene was like quick, but like I think they're kind of going with because Ellie was a little bit more like I kind of think like playful a little bit in the first one, where in the second one she's very tormented and a lot went on. Where this like she finds like a hatch, goes under the cumbies and finds a crushed clicker, and she acts weird. Like she kind of remind me of like like a kid that would like kill pets in the neighborhood the way she acted with this clicker.
Yeah,
Like
that was
she
one
was
thing.
like,
I like. I know that she's still scared of them, but she also knows that she can't be turned by them unless she gets fucking completely mauled. She won't die. So I think she's kind of still overcoming that fear and then killing it. Honestly, wouldn't it have been hilarious if she had taken like an old hard tampon and stabbed the fucking thing in the head instead of her knife. I do like how they showed like they found, feminine products. They never
I
bring that up in these types of situations where it's like,
They were really
what do we
big
do for
on,
toilet paper? We just going back Indian style, wiping with one hand and you
yeah,
shake with the other?
or you find a
Like what
leaf.
what's going on? Yeah,
They
exactly.
they were very heavy-handed on the hygiene aspect in this, like
They had
um
deodorant at one point,
deodorant,
took a
showering.
shower. Yeah. Yeah, they wanted you to know like these people might smell because maybe they're walking for like a couple days, but eventually they will find something to wipe their armpits with and wash their ass.
Yeah. And then when she's stocking up on toilet paper, like, hell yeah, they're fully stocked now. But we'll get into that. So, like, after this whole thing, we get exposition dump. And of course, we see the bodies. And that's when Joel goes into, the whole thing that Josh mentioned earlier and that I said in the summary. And then they're like, see this rainbow blanket? It belongs to a flashback baby. Like, it's a dead
Yeah, there's
baby. Like,
yeah, they're just like they're zooming in on like dead corpses and clothes, and you're like, oh, that looks like a baby's clothes, and then it immediately shows them. You're like, you're not gonna fucking kill a baby in front of
nope.
me, are you, dude? Come on, man. Like, at least kill a kid. I've seen you do that. Not a baby. It's like strangling a real cat on TV.
But
You're just like, I don't want to. No one wants to watch that.
it's sad, but honestly, this is what the government would do if they ran out of resources and they didn't know what to do with these other people. It's like better to, instead of leaving them to be infected, we're gonna kill them.
Yep,
And that's
that's
what
what
they
Joel said.
did. And
He said dead people can't get infected.
100%. And
So
then we meet Bill, which I thought this was great. It's like you said, I love that they really leaned into that. Like, he's a conspiracy theorist. He like planned this all along.
anti-government. He's a prepper. Like the whole 9 yards. He is
Like,
ready for the apocalypse.
he was waiting. Like, he knew. He's like, oh shit, if shit goes south, this is what I would do. I would wait, hide in my bunker, because of course they try to evacuate us, and then immediately once they're gone, I'm going right to the Home Depot with the
Well,
boat.
yeah, he went and like took people's stuff. He's like, I'm taking this boat. I'm gonna go get a bunch of gas before they shut all the
What
pumps
do you
off.
do with the boat?
He was, I don't know.
Oh,
He just
maybe
wanted
he
a
was
fucking he
throwing.
wanted a boat.
I think he was using the boat to throw stuff in.
Yeah, he had like the
Actually,
tanks in it and stuff. Um, yeah, and I thought it was great. He like raids people's houses, and then he's like, I'm going to Home Depot, just gets a bunch of shit. He they turn off the power in Home Depot, and he's like, well, got to turn that back on at least for me. And they just he's got fucking gasoline, he has electricity, he has gas, and it's just like, are preppers right? Are they right to be so fucking insane and like prep for the apocalypse? Like, cause he lived a comfy fucking life. I mean, granted, he did have to set up a giant perimeter around this like area that he had, which I assume is probably close to a whole town.
well, I
Um,
think that the army set up the perimeter and like as a lockdown, and
yeah,
he ended up getting, somehow, like, was able to hack it and like get through. So they kind of set up kind of things for him, but yeah, he had the traps though and everything that he had to set up.
yeah. He also raided the liquor store, so good man.
And how I loved how he'd just be eating dinner and drinking wine and watching like clickers come to the thing and like trip a wire and just shoot them right in the head. He's like,
Yeah,
get, you know.
that's all. That's the only entertainment you have at that point.
I
There's
wonder
no
if a
more
bunch.
like, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's no more like TV signals being broadcast.
Yeah, so that's entertainment there. And he just, I don't know. I just love, like, I bet you, but a bunch of preppers were like, he, we're right, we're right. I
He got it 100% right.
Well, I love when also, Frank and him are arguing later, and he's like, "You're conspiracy bullshit this," and the he said one thing, like something about like chemicals in our food or something. Then he goes in like, and the government's all Nazis, and Bill's like, the government is all Nazis, and he's just like, well, they are now, but that's not my point. It's like,
Yeah, they weren't then.
yeah.
It's like, well, True, they weren't,
Yeah.
but they're close. They're close at this point.
So, they get right quick into it. Like, as soon as we meet Bill, they say it's 4 years later. He's sitting pretty. He meets Frank. Now, you briefly went into it, Josh, but there's a major difference of what the relationship was. Um,
Yeah,
obviously there
it was more hinted that there
yeah,
might have been something in the game where this is very clear. I mean,
and it
you
and
know,
it
like,
happens very differently, and then
yeah,
obviously we're gonna go into spoilers, but like shows you we're not, and this is what I know you're upset about, and this is what I'm upset about. The only thing I'm upset about, because I was really looking forward to having Bill and Ellie together, because the dialogue's fucking great in the game.
yeah.
Like, don't touch my stuff.
I wanted to see Pedro Pascal upside down, fending off fucking zombies and stuff, infected, and Ellie trying to cut him down, and then Bill gets entered into it. I wanted to see them go through the school and introduce a bloater, but it seems like they're gonna wait a little bit longer to introduce bloaters.
Yeah, I think
You
they're
know,
gonna try to get pique our interest
yeah.
and get us.
And you're right. I wanted also to see Ellie and Bill have their like butting heads conversations throughout all of the town, and we
And
didn't
then
get
Bill
any of
just
that.
being like, "Where's Tess?" And Joel just ignoring that question, just being like, "We split ways. She's fine." Like, and it's a bummer, but I am happy with what they decided to go. As someone who's played the game, I don't want just the game. If it's good writing and it's what the original creator wants, I'm on board, because keep me entertained. And
Yep.
this kept me very entertained and moved. I was
Yeah,
fucking very moved.
it was a
What
very very nice episode.
what
I was
is Okay, go ahead.
no, 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 finish what you were gonna
No,
say.
no, no, you go first, and then I will ask you a
Okay,
question.
okay. I was going to say that um, this is a large deviation from the amount of context we get with Bill and Frank's potential relationship in the game,
See, this is
because
what I was gonna ask.
the biggest hint we get is, and Jody did just point this out, is Ellie finds a gay porn mag, when they're leaving, whatever. But we don't actually get, I mean, we get like a hint that Bill and Frank might have been together romantically. He calls him his partner at one point, but that doesn't mean, because he says it like, well, Frank, he was my he was my partner. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything other than another person that maybe helped him to defend the town.
He
Because
did kind of.
Frank's note was like, I hate you and I've always hated you. So if he's always hated him, would they have been romantically involved? But maybe.
Well, I think, and I remember the note being like, "I'm tired of Bill's crazy fucking shit." Like Bill pretty much drove him fucking crazy, and I think that's what it
Yeah.
was. And like I assume they were something, because like Bill goes on a rant too about like, you give your heart to someone. Well, he says like, you open up to them and you trust them with your feelings, and then they just leave you. And like I remember that being the thing. And spoiler for the game, which ends up very differently in this, we find Frank hanging out, I guess you can say, in the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the whole part of Bill's town is we're looking for a car, and Bill has a bead on uh, a
Battery.
battery. Yeah, and we go to a school where a Fedra truck, or a military truck, has crashed into it because he thinks that's where a battery is, and it's not. Frank had taken the battery, and we find a working truck in his house, but we also find his dead body.
With bites on it.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, I think he got bit.
I
Yeah,
looked it up because I didn't
pretty
remember, and
sure.
it said there was bites. That's why he
Yeah,
killed
well, it
himself.
makes
And
sense.
his note pretty much said, "Tell Bill to go fuck himself." Like, and that's way different from what we get in this, which was kind of nice, because like, but also Josh, the whole time where you're like, so when's he gonna hang himself?
When's that guy gonna hang himself? Although I did go like, I did do like the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen meme when he took the ladder and put it down for the guy to climb up out of the hole. I was like, hey, you do that and you use ladders in the game. Use them a lot. I'm like, I would have liked to have seen him like use a ladder like across like a distance like on a roof.
And he's like
That's
tying something
fascinating.
like,
Yeah.
hey. But they went in a completely different direction in the show. We really get to know Frank a little bit more. We see their relationship develop, Bill and Frank's, and of course, we get this awkward scene where, because Bill says you can come in for a meal because he makes a deal with Frank. Frank's like, can I just eat something? Gives him a shower, gives him food and wine, and then he's like, well, I guess I'll leave, but you gotta let me play this piano. And Frank should not be allowed to play piano. Um, Bill was very
Well, I mean, well, come on now. I mean, if you were a person that hadn't eaten in several days, when do you think the last time was that you actually practiced piano?
yeah,
Bill
true.
gets to practice piano because he has it at his home and he's surrounded by like trip wires so he can make noise. This guy was probably like eating fucking berries and shit for like a day and, you know,
And this
probably
is,
hasn't played a piano in like years.
in my opinion, this is also like a nice little way, without going fully into it, to kind of like show that Bill's gay, because it's like about like it's like, the line in it I think is love will abide, no one at my side, wounds unseen. And they were just kind of using that to like kind of reference that, like, he never got to experience being gay, or and now he's alone. He's been alone for how long? I mean, this is the first person he's seen probably in like 4 years. And then, like, that's how they decide to be like, we're gonna do it with this song instead of just being like,
I
hey,
mean, let's
I'm a
just be
man,
honest. If you
you're a man.
Yeah, let's
We're
just be honest. If it's the apocalypse and I haven't eaten in 4 days, I'll suck a dick for some rabbit and like vegetables and stuff. Whatever, dude. I need
Yeah,
to eat. Can I live here? Can I have a house? All right, once a week,
yeah. Frank
whatever you want.
lucked out. Fucking Frank found his sugar daddy in the middle of the apocalypse, and he got to sit pretty, like, you know,
Yeah. Yes.
like this is we don't see like really anything horrid really going on around these two's lives. Like they
Nope.
they really he lucked out. But and that's mainly what they go into. I thought it was great that they didn't do like, and this is a lot of people had a lot of problems with this. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and there was people being like, "Oh my god," like showing them being romantic with each other in bed, and how people are like, "Why didn't they just show them go to bed and cut it? I don't want to see that. They should have had a warning before the episode." It's like, shut the
They
fuck
should have
up.
showed actual penetration. Fuck you, you
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
idiot.
And it's like, oh, so should we have, because why should we be like, oh, gay people have to watch straight people have sex and kiss on TV all the time. So they can't, but I don't want to see them. And then it's like, well, then if you want warnings, then it should be on fucking everything. Which they do at the beginning of the episode. They say this has adult content. So
Yeah. I mean, it's not you didn't even get like man ass, you know what I mean? That would
yeah,
have been it would have been so easy for them to show someone's ass, Like they didn't even do that. Like
yeah.
you saw two dudes kiss like what 3, 4 times total.
And
And
it
it was
was
implied sex. Like you didn't see anything happening. It's like just grow up, dude. If it was a guy and a girl, you wouldn't have given a fuck. You
yeah.
would have thought it was a great love
Or if it was
story.
two
But because
girls, I
it's
think nobody would have given a
yeah,
fuck either.
exactly.
Like,
If it was two girls, you would have been like, "That's hot." But because it's two guys, people are like, "I can't believe they showed it," and it's like, what year is it?
yeah.
It's like
What's
I
the
don't like it. It doesn't matter that it's two guys, two girls, a guy and a girl, whatever, or I
sex is
guess any of the
sex.
other pronouns people want to throw at this point, Zim, Zer, Zer, Zay, Lizard, doesn't matter. Um, it
Lizard
was a
sex.
good love story. It
Yeah.
was a single episode, great love story that ended tragically, like almost like a Romeo and Juliet thing. It was good.
It was
It
fucking
was
beautiful. It was fucking awesome.
I
And Nick,
I I will admit that I teared up at that
yeah,
the part that we'll get to,
yeah,
which I
we'll
think
get
a
to
lot
it.
of people it was a very emotional part, and it showed the acting chops of
Yeah. Well,
both actors.
Nick Offerman even played really well the nervous, like, this is my first time. Like, I thought he did such a good job, and you like felt it too, that he was like, this is so awkward. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and I thought it was portrayed very well. And like, I just want to bring up that video I saw again too. One of the people that was like, "What's wrong with Hollywood? What's I don't want to see that." They like, I know the games, and then said, in the game there's no gay shit, there's no gay shit in the game. And I was like,
Oh yeah,
what
didn't
game
play
you
Left
playing,
Behind.
buddy?
Didn't play the second game.
Yeah, it's like, no, they're pretty much, they're like, they're so woke. And it's like, if you played the games, this is part of the game. They're very like about like gay relationships. And honestly, like Josh said, what year is it? We should be normalized by this by now and just get the fuck over it and just enjoy good television. Everybody deserves to have like their relationship portrayed on a screen. Like, it just pissed me off how many people like were like, I'm gonna stop watching it. And it's like, good, well, too bad you're missing out on something really good because of your pathetic fucking views on the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. It's like I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It's it would have bothered me if it was a boring episode and it ended shittily. That's what that's what would have bothered me. If it
Or
led
if
to
they
fuck all and they just had no chemistry whatsoever,
or
that
what
would have
they
bothered
or
me.
they did what like typically what Hollywood actually does when they do gay relationships. They make it like kinky, and it's like super weird, and like because they're gay. But no, this was, as you said, this was a beautiful love story, and they did it right. Like, so that's what Hollywood usually does. It's like, oh, they're gay, so they got like a bunch of dildos and they're going to put a mask on, and I feel like Hollywood does that
If you say so. I don't know what movies you're
a
watching, but
lot.
okay.
Oh, a bunch of gay porno, like a
Yeah.
bunch of, yeah.
Yeah, that's not Hollywood. That's
Oh,
that's
then
not
no, the
Hollywood.
name of the actor is Hollywood.
Oh,
The little
Holly's
movies I've
Wood.
watched.
Yeah,
Yep.
gotcha. So the next thing that happens in the episode, yeah, we get the whole story of Bill and Frank takes place over like 20 years. So we start out with showing Bill at the beginning of the outbreak and him setting up his shit. Couple years pass, 3 or 4 years pass. I think it's 3 years, and then he finally meets Frank. Then it shows another time jump where Frank has been there several years, and that goes back to what you already brought up about, him them arguing, um, because Frank he's not Bill. He's an extrovert. He wants to, have friends and invite
He's a
people
fucking
over.
idiot. Like
He is an idiot.
I was like, I was all on Bill's side for that, being like, you want friends? You're living in fucking paradise in the apocalypse, and you want to, like, I get it. You get lonely. You're with the same person constantly, but like, fuck that. Like, the world sucks. Have you? He must have not been outside for very long. Like,
No, probably not. Well, we know what he was, exchanging for shelter and food. Because he even told even told Bill, he's like, don't look at me like I'm a slut. He's like, but I will be exchanging this for, yeah, for, I'm exchanging sex for rabbit.
yeah, and he's like, and then I'm gonna stay. But
Yeah.
yeah, he wants friends, and
Yeah.
uh, I had a little bit of it. Mainly the writing on this part was weird because who do they call, Josh? Who are their two friends in this
Who are they gonna
random
call?
woman Ghostbusters?
Yeah, Frank connects with Tess, a de-aged actress, Tess, because this takes place 17 years or 15 years prior to where we see Tess, when she was in the story. And they're having like a little dinner party out in the garden, or I guess a garden party. And there's a very clear distinction who is the female and who is the male
Well,
in
who's
the
the
relationship.
alpha? Yeah, yeah.
No, no, they fit the standard heterosexual normal roles. Like, let me show you inside and show you all these things, and like Bill's sitting there with a gun pointed at them the whole time, like, I don't trust
as he's eating dinner,
you.
like
Yeah.
or lunch
Joel
outside.
Joel is the same exact way, just like, I know you're me. Yeah, we think the same way, um, but we can be useful to each other, and that's
I'm,
kind of all these. And get that gun out of my face. Yeah,
I see that Jody said in the chat that his roommates said, "Is this a gay up?"
yes, it is.
Except they don't fly away in a house, you know. But yeah, it's I thought that was kind of well they showed that, but like I don't know, like Pedro Pascal, I guess they showered and stuff too because they're super clean at this point, and I just didn't like they're friends, but like they're not gonna ask Tess and like Joel to live there. Like I think like I guess they want someone to smuggle goods, but like I don't know if I had two friends that were living normal while I'm eating the tiniest piece of beef jerky to stay alive, I
Well,
would
think
be
about it.
like,
This is not 20 years after. This is only like a few.
well,
So
still,
they looked better because there probably was much better infrastructure before, like they started having raiders and cultists and like, so maybe people were eating a little better then, and maybe their situation wasn't as dire.
but
But
still, why didn't
I
they
also
ask him to
think
stay
like,
there?
why couldn't they just? But also maybe it's Billstown. So no, Bill does not trust people enough to allow him to live in the town, other than that guy that's in Bill's bed.
Yep. Well, I think like they're only important to him because he can get stuff, meds and other stuff, and in exchange, Joel wants stuff to supplies in the town, and
Yeah,
like he even mentions the fence, and that it's gonna go, like it looks like it's losing, its traction or like it's rusting over, and said
yeah.
that
It
like
said something about like the chain link part of it was failing. It failed within like the year, and he's like, I can get you the resources to fix that and have you good for like the next decade, kind of thing.
and this role was so perfect for Nick Offerman because it was just Ron Swanson, like just saying, "Nope, I know better than you. Like
The
we'll
only
be
thing Ron
fine."
Swanson, the only thing Ron Swanson has over um, Bill is that he seeks relationships as well. He's not as much of an introvert
Oh yeah, true,
as Bill.
true, very true. But yeah, so the Raiders come, we get that whole thing, and it is kind of weird that someone who's a very big survivalist, instead of hiding in bushes and picking people off, he's going right up to the fucking fence and shooting them. You would
It's
think
also
that
the
he
middle of the night.
true, so he couldn't really see them, but
Yeah,
Frank fucked him over on that. Frank turns around, he's like, "Get back in the
distracted him.
house," and then he gets
Yeah, this is
shot.
also after a little bit of a time jump because I think Tess and Joel show up. They talk about exchanging goods, and then there's a little bit of a time jump that shows Raiders have attacked because Joel even brings that up. He says like, you have a great situation here, but you have to think about like, not just zombies. Clearly you can handle that, or infected. I keep calling them zombies. You have to think of now people because it's been several years. So now like groups of people who don't want to live in these QZs are probably forming clans and stuff like that.
And
And they're just going to
scouring the
start.
land.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're going to do is they're going to see your really nice society that you have built, all these nice houses, and you have electricity and shit like that. And they're going to be like, "Well, I want that. I want what that guy has."
Yeah, and that's we get a quick thing of that, and then like, we got the thing from the trailer where he's like, "Go, Joel," and then you could tell they were like, "We're running out of time," because the jump, the fucking jump that they do, I think it's like 10 years later, because I think at that point I think it was like 2010 or 13 years later. I don't know what we jump, but they're old as fuck right by now,
Yeah.
and Frank's got some
Well,
sort
well, we
of
jump to I think only it has to at least be like a week, maybe 2 weeks before Joel and Ellie shows up because the food is not as rotten as it would be if it had been left there
but
for
all the
like a year.
flowers outside are dead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
That's
I mean
what
after like two
because I was
weeks,
thinking
like
it
yeah,
too.
I mean, they
So
weren't completely dead, but they haven't been watered in a couple weeks, so
yeah,
that's they would look like that. Yeah.
yeah. I'm wondering what it was because there's also like a thing that I read that also when in the first episode the radio that Joel has in his apartment starts playing 80s songs. That's what
Yeah.
um Bill would do if he was that would come up if he was away from the radio for too long. Like I don't know if it was like a
Yeah.
warning, but and that's like what
Yeah,
Ellie
Ellie mentions that she said that 80s means trouble, so that makes sense. So if Bill isn't checking in randomly at his computer, that it would send out that signal and that they'd know that he needed help.
but I think he just wanted him to go there so they can have all this stuff.
Well, that signal, yeah, that didn't that go off at the end of the first episode and they weren't even there?
Yeah, they weren't in
They'd
there.
already left, so they wouldn't have known that that went off at that point. So they knew that eventually maybe they had to get, because Bill and Frank, if that went off, they might have already thought like, oh,
Yeah.
Bill and Frank are in trouble, but they didn't know that. That's why in episode 2 they're like, we got to go to Bill and Frank.
So yeah, it was probably definitely like a week or two later. And I'm assuming everybody that's watching this saw the episode, so we get this scene. Frank's got cerebral palsy or something. I read online that
I
Linda.
think it was I thought it was cancer.
No, it was like I don't know. I read online that the director. I read two different things, so I don't know what's accurate. Let me see here. I have it here because I keep forgetting. Why am I doing this? I forgot the name of the
Linda
singer.
Ronstadt,
Linda
Linda Ronstadt,
Ronstadt, I guess, had like the same
Ronstadt or something.
disease that was some sort of cerebral palsy. It was like
Okay.
cerebral something. And then I read they said the director said that, and then I read something else that Craig Mazin said, the creator, that it was a form of MS. So
Okay. Yeah, that
regardless,
makes sense then.
Frank can't walk because when they changed the scene, I thought maybe it was Bill because Bill thinks he's gonna die, and he's like, Joel.
It
will
looked like
take
he
care
gets
of it."
shot in the stomach
Yeah,
during that, right before they make the really big time jump. It honestly looked like he got shot in the stomach or something. I guess it was, and that was like the fake out because once it goes further, we see that, oh, fucking Nick Offerman is way old at this point, and Frank's in a wheelchair. So clearly he didn't die from that, and
the
of
cutest
course he
old
wouldn't. It's
couple,
Bill.
by the way, the cutest old gay couple. Like he's just like watering the flowers while one's painting, and he winks at him, but then something's off because Frank's like painting is not as good as the other paintings, and you know,
I think he's just sick of drawing him. He's like, I want to draw someone else.
there's a lot of drawings of him, and then he's eating like he's got to drink food through a straw, and and then he's just this scene was kind of sad. I felt really bad, and Nick Offerman did a really good job at it when Frank is like, well, tells him this is gonna be my last day. Like I can't do this anymore. There wasn't a cure for
Yeah.
this when I was around. Like I mean, before you know before the outbreak.
Well, yeah, he said they couldn't treat this prior. So what are we expecting? Like an MRI technician to just randomly walk up? Like it's not going to happen. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of that situation that happens in real life where a person just doesn't want to suffer anymore, and they decide to self-delete, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. Um,
And it was
yeah,
really
and
touching.
yeah, it was. I mean, the scene that comes after it, where Frank is explaining his plan for his last day, that was actually like that was the most brutal scene in the entire episode because it killed Nick Offerman, and great acting on his part because
Amazing.
you really believed that he couldn't handle the concept of not living with this person that he lived with for what, 15 years, 20 years or something like
Yeah.
that.
And he was just like, I can't do it because he was just like, we're gonna go to the boutique, we're gonna walk around town, we're gonna have dinner, we're gonna have wine, um, and then you're gonna put a bunch of pills in and he's like in my drink, and he's like, I
Well,
can't
also
do it.
don't forget that they got married.
Oh, they got married. I can't believe that was in my head. The biggest thing, which was very important in this episode because gay marriage was not legal until 2004. So that the fact in this world that the outbreak happened in 2003, gay marriage was never legalized. So it was
But it was Massachusetts, so which
no,
was like the earliest
no,
state to. No,
2004.
no, I know. I'm saying that it was Massachusetts, which was the first state to legalize
Oh,
it. So it's fitting that it happened that way.
that it happened in
Although you
Massachusetts.
are right that yes, it was a year prior to any of
Sorry,
that
I was like
actually
yelling. I was like,
becoming law.
no, no, you're
I was just
wrong.
saying that it is fitting that it was happened that they live in
Yes, and
Massachusetts,
I
which
thought that
yeah.
I thought that was a really nice touch that they did that, and it was like really cute. And though I got extra sad when I was like, wait a minute. So he dumps. So I guess like Bill put all the pills in the bottle too, but then faked out Frank, and I was kind of like, okay, I guess this makes sense because why would he be crotchety? And he says something sweet. He's like, you know, um, we're old, so we know we survived. I've done everything. It wasn't like, until I met you that I realized helping someone else survive was
Yeah,
my
he tells
goal.
him you were my purpose,
Yeah.
and that changed. It changed his perspective, because the parallels of him and Joel are supposed to be, we don't need to live in this world for ourselves. We can use our skills and our strength to protect other people and to give us a reason to keep going in this world and to not just self delete.
Which at the beginning, Bill was so happy to be alone. He was
Yeah,
like,
he loved it.
he
He
loved
fucking
it.
loved it. Yeah.
But
I thought that was great. I guess I kind of wished that I kind of felt if they
yeah,
were going to follow the game a little more, my idea was Frank dies the way that they talked about. Bill survives, and that's what changes him into the super crazy person that we meet in the game. You know what I mean? Like
but the fact that
super paranoid, super crazy Bill.
see, that's why I was thinking, I'm like, I was like, so how are they going to make it work that he's miserable? Because you're hearing all these things that how Bill's handling this. He's getting married and he's like happy about it. Um, and then when we get the part where he's like, we're both going to die together. And I'm like, is Frank going to die and he's going to survive? And he goes mad. And that's where we get crazy Bill. And then you just find out that nope.
I was thinking that too. Like maybe he doesn't take enough to kill him, and then he gets that like survivor's guilt kind of thing that Ellie gets a lot in the show,
Yeah,
because that would make sense because in the game they butt heads, but if they both kind of had this survivor guilt, it's almost like some sort of kinship.
I would have loved to seen it, but I thought this was really good. Like this episode,
It was a more fitting ending.
it was a more fitting ending if for a character that's not really that hugely important. Um, yeah, I thought it was great, and what was I gonna say about it too? Like,
Bill serves the same purpose in the game
but
as he serves in
oh
the
yeah,
show.
he
He
still
gets
gives
he gets Joel a car.
the
That's
exact
what
same
happens.
car from the game. Like they,
Yeah.
and one thing was too that like makes me concerned. So in the video game, Bill lives. He kicks them out and says, "Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see you again." Now, as fans of the game, I don't know if you felt this way. Were you hoping when Last of Us 3 comes out, we might get Bill again? And the fact that they
Or
kill
at least
Bill
we
off,
visit Bill, like Ellie
yeah,
visits Bill's town or something like that.
yeah, and we see Bill again. Do you think this kind of shows, unless they're like, we're going to be a little different from the game, that they're kind of like, You're never going to see Bill again. So there's no point in wrapping him into the show," which, I would have thought would have been nice to bring him back. They could always go the route and say he slipped out the window.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know, because I feel like, well, we can't talk about
Yeah,
post game
we
two,
can't.
so I can't tell you that I don't actually think they'd go back to Boston because of where the ending of two takes place, where they indicate
Yeah,
there is
true.
a place
True.
to go to at the end of two. You know what I mean?
True.
Um, and that's completely separate coasts. So, but yeah, I think if the game story is never going to bring Bill back,
There's
I don't
really
think
no
it's an
point.
issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no issue with ending his story, but making it a more positive outlook and like it was definitely a bottle episode, as people like to call it. Like
Yeah.
it takes place in one area. It tells a story, but it may not necessarily move the overarching plot line too far ahead, but it's still a good standalone story. Also, you need to drink a bottle of something after because you're so fucking shattered by what happened in the
Oh my
episode.
god.
Yeah.
Cat was sobbing. I felt broken and sad, but not in a
Well, mostly
bad
because
way.
it's
It
Nick
wasn't.
Offerman. You're just like, Ron Swanson, please,
No.
you and your daddy, your gay daddy. Why did you have to
But
die?
it was
You're both bears.
and it was so sweet. And he almost, we talked about this a little bit before, but you brought it up, Josh, before we recorded that he almost didn't take this role.
Yeah. Nick Offerman had a scheduling conflict, and he wasn't going to take it, and he gave the script to his wife Megan Mullally to read it, and she forced him to do this role and to go up to Canada. She was like, "You're going to Canada and you're doing this." So, good on her. She
Yeah.
recognized a great story, a great one shot story that very impactful. I mean, got a
Originally
crazy
it was
reactions from people.
and originally and Josh isn't going to see this because he can't see what I'm posting, but originally it was supposed to be, the role was supposed to go to O'Neill, and he plays Izzy, and Our Flag Means Death, and there was
Okay.
just too much of a scheduling conflict. And great show, by the way, and he's fucking awesome in it, but I can't see him play Bill. And he was supposed to be in that role, but I think because of scheduling, he dropped out, and then they asked Nick Offerman. And yeah, his wife was like, Megan Mullally, fucking love her. She's just like, you're gonna figure this out. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he wins a fucking Emmy for this episode.
Mm, maybe.
I think a lot of people are gonna win Emmys in this fucking show.
I think so too. Um, so I mean, there's only a little bit more of the episode after, because the brunt of it is the Bill and Frank storyline. We do go back to present day with Joel and Ellie arriving to Bill's place and realizing shit's amiss because, you know, there's no one to greet them there. They notice that like the plants are dead. They notice, general upkeep and stuff like that. Um, and then, they go in, they find the note explaining what happened. Just a note from Bill to Joel, well, to anyone, but it says, whoever finds this, but most likely Joel. And just kind of explaining what I already mentioned, where he realized that it's not worth it to live in this world alone. You need to use the things, your strength and your skills, to do something with it and to protect people. And he was talking about Tess, but now it's kind of the speech Joel needed for, what he needs to do with Ellie.
Yeah. And man, Pedro Pascal again crushing it. The way he just storms out, and he's just like fuck, because it's like he hasn't really given himself a moment to mourn Tess, and that just like you could tell he's just whole because for him to mourn out loud would mean that he would have to bond with Ellie, and that's just something that he refuses to do. Like he just can't do
Yeah.
it. So, and that's why he like I should have wrote the rules down, but Joel makes a rule, like a list of rules, which is directly from the video game, being like, we don't ask about her past, you don't
Yeah.
ask,
What
we
I
don't,
say goes no matter what.
yeah,
Yeah.
and and then that's when they get the battery, they stock up. She still wants a gun so fucking bad, but you know what? After seeing her like playing with the fucking clicker, I was like, no, you don't get a gun. No, no, no.
Yeah. You don't need that. You don't.
Let me check
You
your
got you
backpack.
got a little something off. Yeah.
Is there any
Exactly.
dead cats in your backpack? Because I want to
Right.
check that shit.
Yeah, because we go into Bill's room of guns, and it's like, why not grab a couple duffel bags worth of guns just in case? He said you
Load
could
the
have all
fuck
my
up.
guns, and be like, take her gun for her, and just say, yeah, in a little bit I'll give you a gun, but not now. But she gets a gun anyway, because she finds the gun that Frank grabbed when they were being attacked. It was in that little drawer. So
Oh yeah, she
I
does.
wonder
I
what's
forgot about that.
so I wonder what's gonna happen there. I think I know what they're setting that up for. You know what I mean? The
I have some
scene
ideas
in the
too.
hotel in Pittsburgh. I think that they're gonna redo that, but instead of her grabbing a gun, it's she had it that he didn't know about it, and then it kind of picks up
Yeah.
from there. Um, but yeah, oh, we also, and I do want to mention this, like they make it a point to take showers and use deodorant, and Ellie gets her T-shirt directly from the game for the summer section of the game, the exact T-shirt.
Which is a nice touch. They've costume design and sets as always are really good. This, of course, it wasn't much to really go off of. I thought the town was, a little too pristine for me, but it was still took care of it,
It's a
I guess.
suburban town. I mean, what did you? That's what they look like.
Well,
Every
Lincoln
house,
too. Lincoln's
every
really
house looks the
nice.
same. Yeah,
Lincoln is
that's
very
true.
nice too. Stage Cordova Sculpture Park's there. It's fucking awesome. Check it
Yeah.
out.
No.
So the episode ends, and of course, after credits, we get a preview, and which we're starting to do at the end of a lot of these episodes. Unless, before we go into it, Josh, is there anything else you wanted to discuss about this episode?
No, I'm just interested to see what the preview is. I didn't really watch it on purpose so that I could watch it here and kind of try to figure out what they're going for. I mean, obviously, playing the game, I have a feeling that this is going to be the Pittsburgh episode, or maybe part one of two of the Pittsburgh episode, or something like that, unless they do something crazy, wildly different.
And it's funny because you're going to be watching it without sound. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested to see how you break this down. So this is going to be fun. But before we move on to it, I just want to say this episode was amazing. It's the first one they diverted from the game, and I'm very interested to see where we're going to go moving forward. Still have high expectations for the show. I it's in good hands, and I fucking love it. This is how it should be. This is
The
how it
woke
should
of
be.
us.
Woke of us. Ugh. Well, we're gonna freeze real quick because I'm gonna share my screen so Josh can see this trailer. So here we go. Oh wait, I gotta share. So right there, and I'm not frozen. But wait, nope, I messed up. So share. You can see it now, right?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Trailer time.
Whoa. Smells like burnt shit.
What's next?
I'm all turned around.
Don't look at the state map.
This is my second day in a fucking car, man. Stop.
Please help!
Are we gonna help him?
No. This has gone too far. It has to stop.
Where is he?
Where is he? Is what that girl said.
We'll get through this.
I know.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like Pittsburgh. We get like coffee, I guess. I guess Bill had coffee, and of course Joel would take that. That's a very first and second game thing where he talks about coffee and missing it, and the second one he finds coffee randomly, and it's like, gee, that stuff smells like shit. It's like, yeah, that's what it does, but it serves a purpose. We get the whole thing with the guy pretending to be hurt, which is a trap. I saw some spike strips
I got
at
excited
one
when I
point when they
saw
were
that.
crashing. So it looks like we're getting that whole section where they get ambushed. There's a new character that's in there. That lady. I actually recognize
Yeah.
her. She plays Charlie Sheen's stalker who lives next door in 2.5 Men.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Melanie Linsky. I know her more
Oh.
from the Castle Rock season 1. The Stephen King kind of weird stories thing they do, and I'm interested in what character she is because I can't think. So she's got a gun too. I don't know. Someone said and says, "Where is he?"
Hmm.
So are we to assume she's looking for Joel? Like, is there a character like that in this? Like the game that I'm not
No,
remembering? So this is probably something a
no.
little different. And I don't think
It's someone new. There's only two people you really interact with in Pittsburgh, and those people I did not see featured in
no.
this episode,
That'll
in that
probably be
trailer.
episode 5.
Unless they're in the episode and it's just not, they're just not showing it.
Yeah. Because I mean, but we did did we see,
We did see
Josh?
the armored vehicle, it looks like, which
Ooh.
is that's a brutal part of Pittsburgh, I will say. They are just fucking ruthless.
Every time that truck fucking comes up, you're like, oh shit.
Hmm. So yeah, interesting. We'll see if Pittsburgh is a 1 or 2 part episode. Yeah,
And
1 or 2 part story.
and I don't think this is what Jody just said in the chat. Is that a spoiler, Josh? Could we?
It's not really a spoiler because they never talk about really
But
Ellie's mother in
yeah.
the game, so it's not a
So
spoiler.
Ashley Johnson, who voices and motion caps Ellie in the game, is rumored, which I kind of had a feeling this would be the case anyway, because you see her in the original trailer giving birth to a baby, and that they're gonna say that that's Ellie's mom, which is a nice nod that they're gonna do. But we kind of had a feeling that was gonna happen. So, but thanks for
Yeah,
bringing that up, Joe. But that would be the best way for them to introduce her.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm excited to see how much they cover of that section next week. There is a lot there, so I have a feeling it's not just going to be 1 episode.
Yeah, same. You know, it's we're gonna have to see, and it's as before we go, I want us to make a couple theories before this episode ends in the season. I really don't think they're gonna do the whole game in one season. Maybe they will, because they do Left Behind. So I don't know.
Do.
Do. But then I don't know. There's just a lot to do. There's a lot to fucking cover in 9 episodes. Especially since we had a bottleneck episode, a bottle cap episode, whatever you fucking
Just a
say.
bottle episode.
A bottle episode that, like, it was great. Don't get me wrong. Loved this episode, but the story didn't move forward, and now we only have 7 episodes left. And I guess maybe it just seems like there
I
should
think
be
it can.
more.
I think it can still make it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you know what?
Bill's Place would have been one whole episode, regardless of how
True.
much they spent in present time. They still told the story, and they acquired what you get in Bill's Town that progresses them to this next area of
And I think if
Pittsburgh.
they get too much of it in the game, how the game is long, because I'm dying 500,000 times in that one area. When the car alarms go off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very excited to see where we're going with this. Josh, I assume you're still on board with this show.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We weren't one of the people that were a lot of video game. You know, to get better at this, I've been following a bunch of video game reviewers who review shit like this, and a lot of them were big babies. A couple, more of them were on board, but then you got the really, really big babies on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we've all been hurt before by video game adaptations. There's not many that are good. So, and this is an important story for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
So far they're doing it well. They're expanding a lot of it. And I think this is a perfect example of something they took in a completely wildly different direction, but it still served the same purpose. The purpose of Bill's Town is to get a car. They get a car, but the majority of the episode was telling a completely different story, but just a story of, you know, two humans living and pretty much living better than anyone else for like 20 fucking years.
Yeah, that's why they were okay with, like, yeah, we're old now, so we're just gonna off ourselves, and we're okay with it because we lived good during the pandemic. They lived
Right.
very, very well.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't think they have any complaints.
We had a couple comments on our Instagram. What was on my page, but it was in reference. Of what some people thought of this. Official BWK on Instagram said, "I'm a massive Last of Us fan, and I think they made a borderline throwaway character have a rich, deep, and emotional story that is true to Joel and Ellie's journey while giving us a beautiful gay love story. I I just obsessed with the fact that the gamer boys had to see this undoubtedly gorgeous romance.
Yeah, that's dude. That's eloquent as shit. Holy fuck.
Yeah, that's Brian Keefe right
He
there
should.
for you.
Yeah, I know BWK. He should just write reviews for fucking TV series. That's a incredible summary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian, if you're watching this, and if you're not watching it in the stream, but watch it on YouTube, you you should be reviewing shit because that was
That was
very
that was better than either of them. Did you hear the summary Andrew had at the beginning? That was not the
Hey, it was all right.
After his saucy kiss with the tendrils,
I thought
Joel
that
and
was
Ellie
the best comment.
hit the
A lot of
bricks.
people said that they liked it. And Jody obviously said something, but you said we shouted you out in the chat, Jody, for saying the same thing. You were like, "Great episode." Shout out for Cumbies.
Yeah. Fucking Cumberland Farms is getting some love. They need it,
See,
dude.
you know what? Joe D should be a sponsor for not a sponsor. He should work for you should work for Cumbies, man. Like
There you go.
be a promoter. You know what you need in your movie? A Cumbies. Just go to sets and see if you can get Cumberland Farms.
Like, what's a Cumbies? Be like, bitch, Cumberland Farms. Come on now.
It's Cumbies, not Cumberland Farms. Say it right, Josh.
No, it's Cumberland Farms. Assholes call it Cumbies.
Well, I'm an asshole then, huh?
That's fine.
Yeah, but I would say that wraps up our discussion. You know, I thought we both loved it. Really looking forward to see where we're gonna move forward from this. All the haters can go suck a dick. Well, they can shut the fuck
I
up.
think they're probably turned off from sucking dick after watching
That's
this
the reason
episode.
they're angry. I'm
They're
sorry.
like, I don't want to watch it. No more sucking dick. I already seen that in this show.
Well, you know what I
implied.
mean. They can enjoy other like terrible TV and
Go
miss
watch
out on
that
an
Gina
amazing TV.
Carano on the Wild West fucking movie that made $7,000 in theaters. Go watch that movie.
But
There's plenty of non-woke stuff out there now if you want to be, that guy.
So typically the show is a podcast. We have a podcast episode coming out Friday. Unfortunately, we keep putting this off. We're supposed to be releasing this Friday our top Mega Man songs. Because of scheduling and stuff, we were unable to record it. So I'm going to be releasing the audio versions of episode 2 and this one as well onto the podcast forums for people to listen to. And I'm not releasing episode 1 in audio format because if you watch the first one, you know I fucked up and had music going the whole
Big
time.
time.
So I'm assuming somebody listening to it in audio format is not going to want to fucking hear that the whole episode. So
No.
But if you want to, let us know on 8bitmoviereview@gmail.com or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're on fucking everything now. So
Oof.
social media owns us. But I also want to give out a shout out. Music at the beginning of the episode was from our boy Sam Mulligan. And when this is posted on YouTube, I will have his information and all our social network information on there. So make sure you check
Social
it out.
Network, yeah.
Social
That,
network.
that movie with Jesse Eisenberg, Jesse Eisenberg, and
I
fucking
will have
Justin
the credits
Timberlake.
to Social Network listed in
Good.
like the caterers,
They-
everything. And
Yeah, they need credit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. They definitely do. But yeah, definitely check out our boy Sam Mulligan. His music's unbelievable. He did a One Punch Man cover. It was great. But anyway, thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Gonzalez.
And I'm Josh Edgington.
And check us out next Tuesday, unless we reschedule again. Bye.
Up to you.